Welcome to Mystic Realms Recap. Links are in the description below. Please show some love of the author and me. On to the show.
The strength gap is too big. After only a few rounds of fighting, Lin You and the royal family were almost all defeated and suffered serious injuries. Lin Yu's face was as dark as water. When he was fully activated, his physical attributes were only close to the level of the 8-block godhead, and this was even when the opponent didn't use any strengthening skills. His plant type can have 4-leaf clovers strengthening skills, and other types naturally have similar strengthening methods, even with the additional damage reduction provided by 11th level equipment and national treasures. It is still a bit difficult to withstand the attack of 9 pieces of godhead. More importantly, the 4 attributes of the old man in front of him have obviously been improved to full value. Even if the attack is stronger than him, the agility and reaction ability are to the point of crushing him. Once his defensive skills are used up, he will fall into a passive situation of being beaten, and he will be unable to escape even if he wants to. Not to mention the royal family, their current comprehensive strength is only comparable to the level of 4 gods. It is difficult to be an opponent of 6 or even 7 gods in a 2-on-1 situation. In addition, the opponent's troops are 10 times as many as ours, and they are constantly fighting and harassing each other, which makes it even more unsustainable. Master, leave us alone, and run away whenever you find an opportunity. At this time, Lynx's voice reached Lin Yu's mind through spiritual connection. At this time, she and Tun Tian were retreating steadily under the attacks of the old woman and the insect army, with wounds all over their bodies. Even if the elf elder at the rear tried his best to treat him, he could only barely hold on. Qing Gang and Cannon on the other side were in slightly better condition, but they were beaten by the undead lord opposite and had little power to fight back. Even the deadly sniper fire from the cannon was blocked by the army of undead, making it impossible to launch an effective attack on the undead lord. Master, leave quickly, I'll stop them. Qianlong, who was blasted into the rock, quickly stood up, rushed into the sky with the Mushroom Demon King, and led the Dragon Mushroom army to meet the Demon Lord, whose strength was second only to Waya King, and fought with him again. The entire sky and ground roared and exploded continuously, and the plant legions also fell one after another in the raging attack, like dead soldiers desperate for their lives. What nonsense! How can I leave you and run away? Lin Yu had a war barrier standing in front of him, constantly resisting the strong winds coming from all directions. At this time, he has already regarded the royal family members, who have been with him day and night, as his family, so how can he leave them alone? Not to mention whether he can escape now. Even if they can escape, they must not just watch them die at the hands of the opponent. Where are you looking? Suddenly, King Waya's voice sounded. Just as Lin Yu was thinking about how to escape, the power of the 5 elements of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth appeared again, building a 5-element array around him, along with a ray of light that soared into the sky. The phantoms of the elemental lords representing the power of the 5 elements appeared in 5 directions, thousands of feet high, and a punch suddenly fell towards him. Wherever he went, the space collapsed and the storm surged. The power was actually far greater than the blow that severely injured him just now. If he is hit, he may not die, but may be crippled. However, when Lin Yu just wanted to teleport to escape, he found that the surrounding space had been completely imprisoned by the invisible formation. Unable to avoid it, he had no choice but to run into the wind blades scattered throughout the formation. Puff, blood splattered. The damage he suffered finally reached the requirement, triggering the additional effect of the national treasure. A magic immunity shield appeared on his body, making him immune to skill damage for 5 seconds. The next second, there was a loud bang, and the entire sky shook violently, completely collapsing into a void. The turbulent flow of space poured back crazily, tearing apart everything around it. Some of the troops at the bottom, who were closer, were even sucked in and turned into flying ash in an instant. After the space was restored again, and the power of the 5 elements gradually dissipated, Lin Yu, who was wrapped in a breath of life, revealed his figure again, not dead. King Waya looked at Lin Yu, who appeared in front of him, in surprise, and couldn't help but frown. He found that Lin Yu's attack ability was not strong, but his vitality was extremely tenacious. He did not look like a lord who had just been promoted to the 11th level. Even with the support of the Emperor's resources, it stands to reason that it should not be able to reach this level. It seems that we can't do it without resorting to some means. Gradually, the contempt in King Waya's eyes disappeared, and a force of 5 elements emerged, pouring into his whole body. The momentum that was already extremely powerful increased instantly, reaching an extremely astonishing level. Boom! There was an explosion under his feet, and his whole body shattered into the void and shot out, turning into a series of afterimages in the air. Lin Yu, who had just activated his healing skills to recover some of his injuries, changed his expression and immediately activated his hardening skills to dodge. To the side boom. There was a muffled sound, and even though he was a beat slower, he was still hit. A flame-covered fist landed on his shoulder, and along with a terrifying force, it shattered his shoulder blades and sent him flying. After finally stopping his figure, another flower appeared in front of him, and King Waya, whose body was covered with metal, appeared again. Lin You endured the pain and waved his hand, and countless vines rose into the sky and swept towards the opponent. At the same time, with the help of the remaining flames on his shoulders, the Phantom Walker effect was directly triggered. Phantom clones appeared around him one after another, continuing the savage roaring state, and then launched an attack with him. In an instant, the entire sky was filled with vines, and the power of the 5 elements exploded. The two sides collided fiercely in the sky. The remnant power of the collision even sent all nearby troops flying away, making it difficult to get even close, as if they were evenly matched opponents. But only Lin You knew how bad his situation was. Basically every time a skill collides, the energy and blood in his body surges, and wounds appear on his body. Even the recovery bonuses of healing skills and racial talents cannot keep up with the speed at which the injuries worsen. If it weren't for the Phantom clone's help to contain him, he might have been defeated long ago. After hundreds of crazy exchanges in the air, Lin You finally felt a little exhausted, and his vision began to become blurry, and his defensive skills were basically exhausted. To know, the various defensive skills of the plant system are considered to be the most among all races, but facing the attack of the 9 Godhead Lords, it was still a drop in the bucket. If even he was defeated, let alone the other royal families, none of them would be able to escape. It's useless. Just accept death. Feeling that Lin Yu's aura began to weaken, King Wuya became more and more excited. After today, he will no longer be King Wuya, but Emperor Wuya standing at the top of the continent. Even though he was determined, he couldn't help but tremble all over, and his attacks became more fierce. The power of the 5 elements blasted out, destroying the phantom clones around Lin You one after another. The speed of copying could not even keep up with the speed of destruction by him, making Lin Yu's face gradually turn pale. The death of the phantom clone will not trigger the effect of Dragon's Wrath, because the power of rules can only use the skills of the soldiers, but cannot use their exclusive talents, not to mention that he is not a dragon. Seeing the opponent's attack coming again, gritting his teeth, he stretched out his arms, and a huge pea-shadow appeared behind him. With a bang sound, a stream of flame shot out. The cannon's deadly sniper skill has twice the damage and is incredibly fast. Almost in an instant, he had already arrived in front of King Wuya. The face of King Wuya, who was launching an attack frantically, changed. He felt the aura of destruction contained in the stream of light, and his armor suddenly lit up with a rocky light. Boom. Sparks exploded, and Wuya was directly knocked back several kilometers away. And on his left chest, a fist-sized wound suddenly appeared. It only penetrated less than an inch and was directly blocked. Sure enough, Lin You looked solemn. Even the fatal sniper attack with double damage only forced out the opponent's life-saving equipment, not even serious damage. If he continues like this, he will definitely die. No, we have to find a way to change the situation. It is obviously impossible to escape back to the primitive world, with a guy with 9 pieces of Godhead blocking him. After all, not only is the opponent faster than him, but his teleportation distance is also farther than him. He was afraid that he would be stopped by the other party just as he escaped into the void. So his only way out now is to get rid of the others first, and liberate the royal family. Only with a joint attack can we successfully get rid of their entanglement. But the problem now is that the opponent's speed is too fast. As soon as he makes any unusual move, he will be intercepted immediately and there will be no chance to take action. Moreover, the range of the law of time is only a dozen meters, so it is not easy to catch the opponent. He needs a chance. You can hurt me like this, with less than 5 pieces of Godhead, and you are still the first. Just as he was thinking about it, King Wuya's cold voice suddenly came. Probably because he was unable to attack for a long time, and almost suffered heavy losses, he finally aroused his anger completely. Opening his palms, raging flames suddenly ignited on his body, swallowing up his whole body. All parts of his body gradually transformed towards the flames, and in the blink of an eye he turned into a red flame giant. Elemental incarnation. Lin You was shocked. This is the signature explosive skill of the elemental system. It can transform oneself into an element in a short time, and greatly strengthen the elemental attack. Boy, suffer death. Hearing the elementalized King Wuya's roar, monstrous flames exploded on him, and he turned into a ferocious fire dragon, and charged straight at Lin You. Wherever it went, the temperature suddenly rose, and even the air was instantly evaporated, like a raging red cloud. Facing the approaching sense of terror and oppression, Lin You was extremely solemn, but his brilliance shone brightly. The opportunity he had been waiting for had come. Swallow it. With a loud shout, he directly activated Swallowing Skies, devouring skill in Kong Ming's absolute domain. A huge piranha shadow appeared behind him, its mouth opened, and a siphon enveloped the fire dragon. At the same time, the field expanded, covering the entire 1 kilometer range instantly. However, under the huge attribute gap, these two skills are all ineffective. The devouring power and domain were instantly burned away by the raging flames, turning into nothingness. Fortunately, Lin You had anticipated this and immediately turned his head to look down. Sage, he yelled and finally stopped holding back. At the moment when the dragon transformed by King Wuya entered the 12-meter range, the power contained in his body suddenly exploded. With a buzz sound, a strange wave that did not belong to this world appeared, making the space around him become twisted. The originally powerful fire dragon's speed suddenly dropped 3 times, and even its movements became sluggish, as if it was imprisoned in this space. It's Lin Yu's time law skill, slowing down the flow of time around him by 3.5 times. At the same time, all the royal families who received the signal jumped up, directly knocked away the opponents in front of them, and surrounded the mechanical lord with 4 divine heads. Immediately afterwards, the forest sage's light of life blooms, forcibly retaining 1 point of constitution for all allies within 10 seconds. No, stop them quickly. The sudden change caused the expressions of the demon lords and others to change. They immediately guessed Lin Yu's intention and shouted in shock. King Wuya, who was high in the sky, was inexplicably frightened, because he found that he was restricted by a strange force that he had never encountered before. His reaction and speed dropped sharply to almost 30% of the original, and his movements became extremely slow, as if he was stuck in a quagmire. What kind of power is it? Even with his full divine power, he couldn't break free. Just when King Wuya was shocked, Lin You also took this opportunity to step aside. The power of the rules exploded, and the corpses of insects and demons everywhere exploded, turning into a sky full of blood and gathering towards him. That's right, this is the opportunity he has been waiting for. This opportunity has enough level 11 corpses for him to explode. And just as the torrent of blood gathered, the 10 royal families have been shrouded in the light of life of the forest sage, and surrounded the mechanical lord, whose expression changed greatly. Obviously, the machine lord did not expect that they would collectively rise up at this time. Feeling the threat of death, he rushed out without hesitation and rushed towards the rear of the mechanical army. Die! Immediately afterwards, a loud shout came. The demon lord, the insect-type old woman, and the undead-type man struck together in one blow, and a terrifying power exploded on the royal family. However, what they didn't expect was the royal family actually directly resisted their attack, and the natural power of their bodies exploded. With a loud bang, countless giant vines rose into the sky, blocking the way of the machine lord. Then 9 extremely powerful attacks exploded, pouring out towards the machine lord from all directions, giving him no chance to tear open the space and escape. Damn it, the machine lord was shocked. 9 soldiers of similar strength to him launched attacks at the same time. Not to mention him, even the lords of the 5 goat heads might not be able to stop them. How dare he hold back any longer and directly activate the mechanical overload skill. A ferocious arc of electricity erupted on him, and his attributes doubled instantly. At the same time, a power grid condensed in front of him, facing the attacks of the 10 royal families. You have no chance. Unexpectedly, a cold voice suddenly sounded. Before the mechanical lord could react, a simple wall clock appeared behind him. With a ding sound, the hands moved back a circle, restoring all his status to a minute ago. It's Lin Yu's final countdown skill. With the blessing of bloody madness, even the mechanical lord with doubled attributes could not break the effect of his skills, and was directly hit. No, the machine lord stared angrily. The mechanical overload state disappeared, and he had no time to activate the skill again. He could only watch the strongest blow from the 10 royal families crashing down, completely tearing him into pieces. The whole process only happens between breaths. An 11th level lord with 4 pieces of goathood was instantly killed on the spot, and no one else could save him in time. Congratulations, you successfully killed the 11th level lord of the alien plane, and obtained 541 billion mana. Following a prompt, a colorful crystal shining with metallic light slowly floated up from the body of the machine lord, shocking everyone on the scene. Boy, you are looking for death. You can't stay alone. The demon lords and others shouted in shock, finally waking up from the shock of the mechanical lord being killed. The momentum all over his body suddenly surged, and he attacked Lin You directly. Lin You also had to cancel his skills due to the massive consumption of the power of rules in his body, making it difficult for the law of time to continue. You pissed me off. King Wuya, who had broken free from the constraints of the law of time, had a face as dark as water, and his eyes were full of cold murderous intent. There was someone who dared to kill 2 high-level lords of the original evil world under his eyes. He would not let Lin You go easily no matter what he said today. The words fell. There was an explosion under the soles of the feet, and the body in the form of the elemental incarnation shot out. With a raise of his arm, a giant fist of thousands of feet condensed in the air like a flame, and hit Lin You fiercely. The terrifying and boundless power frightened even Lin You, who was in a bloody and frantic state. Seeing the effect of the forest sage's light of life disappear, the other 3 people came to double-team him. He didn't dare to be careless, and a large number of vines rushed out, forming a thick vine wall in front of him, surrounding him. Boom! There was a loud noise, and the vine forest collapsed instantly. The huge flaming fist and the attacks of the other 3 exploded on the mirror wall that Lin You had just condensed, shattering the mirror wall into pieces. Lin You also used the force of the impact to retreat violently, turned over and swept straight towards the godhead, casually wiping the blood on the corner of his mouth. You dare! King Wuya was filled with murderous intent, and he immediately guessed Lin Yu's intention, and ran after him. However, Lin Yu had already snatched the divine power, and rushed away from the surrounding people without looking back. Walk! With a loud shout, he immediately took the recovering royal family, and the remaining few hundred legendary soldiers back to their original space, and disappeared in a teleport. The bloody and frenzied state only lasted for 3 minutes, and it was still absorbing the blood of insects and demons. It was not used to its maximum, and could only barely block the elemental incarnation of King Wuya. Coupled with the fact that the law of time had just been cast, there was not much power left in his body. Once he is dragged until the bloody frenzy ends, death awaits him. Not to mention absorbing the divine personality. The 11th level godhead contains huge energy, which cannot be absorbed in a short period of time and will be easily interrupted. Given the opponent's strength, a few seconds would be enough to catch up with him. So now is his only chance to escape. Whoosh! A sound broke through the air. Lin You escaped directly into the void, and fled far away in the direction of the primitive world. Chase me! After Wuya Wang and others reacted, their expressions turned cold, and they immediately tore open the space and chased after them. The speed is so fast, especially for the Wuya king with the 9 gods. He can teleport thousands of kilometers and arrive in front of Lin Yu in the blink of an eye. The flames all over his body surged, and he transformed into a flaming giant, punching Lin Yu again, shattering the space where Lin Yu was, forcing him to escape from the void. Boom! The whole sky shook violently, and the mountains and the ground below were shattered, and a large area of mountains and rivers was shattered by King Wuya's blow. The 3 demon lords followed closely and blocked Lin Yu's path. Put down your godhead, and leave your body intact. Amidst the angry shouts, the 3 of them took action together. Demonic fire and bone spurs surged in, and insects like dark clouds covered the entire sky, completely blocking Lin Yu's retreat. Get out of my way! Lin Yu waved his hand, and a huge piranha flower appeared behind him. It swallowed the 3 people's attacks, and exploded in the air. However, just when he was about to teleport and escape again, King Wuya had already arrived, and the scorching flames burned the sky red. But Lin Yu was already prepared. Just as the opponent was approaching, the forest sage appeared next to him again. Buzz! An invisible wave spread and enveloped all 4 of them. The offensive that had just been condensed instantly dissipated into the air, and the flames of King Wuya were also extinguished. No! The attack is invalid. The expressions of several people changed. They didn't expect Lin Yu to have such methods. When he looked at Lin Yu again, he found that he had torn apart the space and escaped again. Chase! Without hesitation, he immediately followed his scent, and chased after him. After chasing and escaping like this, Lin Yu, whose power of rules was almost exhausted, finally broke through the void and arrived near the border of the primitive world. His face was pale due to excessive blood loss. Seeing that the border of the primitive world was close before his eyes, he didn't care much. He opened the space again and prepared for the last teleportation. But at this moment, a sudden change occurred. A terrifying and boundless pressure suddenly came, and enveloped his entire body. Lin Yu was horrified and struggled desperately to break away from the pressure. But as soon as half of his foot stepped into the space passage, the overwhelming force completely imprisoned him, making him unable to move. You have taken the godhead of our original evil world, and still want to leave. A majestic voice sounded under Lin Yu's horrified gaze. The space in front of him suddenly distorted, and a figure wearing a purple and gold robe appeared in front of him, which shocked him. Emperor Dongli appeared in front of him at this time. Astonishingly, he is Emperor Dongli, who is in charge of the entire border of the original evil realm. During the previous battle between the 2 sides, Lin Yu had met each other once, but he did not expect that he would appear here. Seeing that his body was completely imprisoned, with no trace of the power of rules left in his body. Lin You felt a deep sense of unwillingness and despair in his heart. Just a little bit. He was just a little short of escaping back to the primitive realm, but it happened that he met the opponent's emperor here. Do you really want to kill him, Emperor? At this moment, King Waya and others also came over one after another. When they saw Emperor Dongli, they were surprised at first, and then immediately stepped forward to salute respectfully. No gifts. Emperor Dongli glanced at them lightly, with a hint of dissatisfaction in his eyes. 5 people besieged one, and 1 was killed. You are really getting better and better. What the emperor has taught us is that we are too careless. King Waya opened his mouth, but in the end he did not dare to refute. As for the demon lord and the old woman, they did not dare to show any disobedience and lowered their heads. Okay, let's settle the matter first. I'll settle the score with you when I get back. Emperor Dongli waved his sleeves, and a terrifying force wrapped up Lin You, who could not move, and sent him to several people. King Waya and others were overjoyed and surrounded Lin You with excitement. However, just as they took action, a cold and arrogant voice suddenly sounded in the void. Dongli, you seem to have forgotten the agreement between the realms. The moment the voice fell, 2 terrifying figures appeared out of thin air, staring at them with stern eyes. It's you, Chongfeng. Emperor Dongli's face darkened and he looked at the visitor solemnly. Astonishingly, they are the 2 great emperors of the primitive world, Chongfeng and Xinyao. Lin You, who had already fallen into despair, was surprised and happy. He did not expect that the emperor of their primitive world would come at this most critical moment, and it was Emperor Chongfeng who had exceeded his expectations the most. Lin You could understand that Emperor Xinyao came to save him. After all, he was also a member of the Xinyao Empire, but the appearance of Emperor Chongfeng was beyond his expectation, and he didn't even expect it at all, because Sidu Jian had already said before that he had asked Emperor Chongfeng, but was ruthlessly rejected. Is it because it happens to be nearby? Lin Yu was full of doubts. Without waiting for him to think too much, then I heard Emperor Dongli say in a cold voice, he broke into our original evil realm, and killed the people in our original evil realm. You still want to leave? Obviously, he didn't want to let go so easily. So, your original evil realm wants to provoke a realm war, and become enemies of our major realms, Emperor Chongfeng said with a cold look. According to the rules of the realm, those above the imperial level cannot take action against the lords below or intervene in the battles of the lords below. Emperor Dongli has already violated this rule just now. Once word spreads, the original evil world will definitely become the target of public criticism. To know, many realms have been waiting for this opportunity to take action. When the time comes when the teacher has a reputation, it will be up to those who cannot defend themselves. Emperor Dongli obviously understood this. After hearing Chongfeng's words, he suddenly became suspicious. He knew it very well. Although now is the critical time for the major realms to join forces to attack the realm alliance, it is too naive to think that they can completely unite as one. It's not just because he wants to kill the emperor of the realm alliance for legitimate reasons, and win more goat heads. Especially now that reincarnation is approaching, everyone is looking for self-protection. As long as they dare to act rashly, this fragile alliance will collapse in an instant, and no one will regard them as an alliance by then. So basically no one wants to be the one who stands out. Originally, they could get rid of Lin You quietly, without witnesses. Other realms would have no reason to attack them. But now that Chongfeng and Xinyao were both present, the result was different. After weighing the pros and cons, Emperor Dongli suddenly said in a cold voice, you can let him go, but the piece of Godhead that belongs to our original evil world must be kept. The primitive world and the original evil world have always been at odds with each other. It is naturally impossible for him to watch a complete Godhead fall into the hands of the primitive world. That will be a huge hidden danger for them. Godhead? What Godhead? Emperor Xinyao on the side was slightly startled. Emperor Chongfeng also looked puzzled. Then, they thought of something and suddenly looked at Lin You, who was under control. Boy Lin You, you won't kill their 11th level, right? Emperor Xinyao asked in astonishment, obviously not expecting such a development. After all, they had just arrived, and had no idea what happened ahead. Now that he suddenly heard about this, even Chongfeng couldn't help showing a surprised expression, let alone him. Only a few days after advancing to the 11th level, he actually killed an 11th level lord on the opposite side, and that was under the siege of 5 people, one of whom was even a top-level lord with 9 divine heads. Such a gift must be preserved to death. Impossible. Chongfeng directly rejected Dongli's request. I have understood it. It was your people who captured our people first and wanted to trap him to death. In the end, he was killed because he was not strong enough. If you want to blame, it is because you are not as skilled as others. Are you really unwilling to give in? Emperor Dongli's voice gradually became colder. Don't forget, this is within my original evil realm. That's right, outsiders are not allowed to run wild in the original evil realm. Suddenly, two sounds pierced the air, and two majestic figures, a man and a woman, appeared, and in a blink of an eye they were in front of several people. Swallowing stars, Linglong, Changfeng and Xingyao's expressions darkened and suddenly became serious. The visitors were surprisingly the star-swallowing emperor and Linglong emperor from the original evil realm. In the blink of an eye, the 2-on-1 situation turned into 2-on-3, making both of them look a bit unhappy. It seems that it may not be so easy to take away that piece of Godhead today. To know, with one more Godhead, the chances of a new emperor being born in their realm will increase. As long as there is one more great emperor, the emperor level of their original world will surpass the original evil world. This advantage is absolutely huge. Do you just want to give up on the Godhead you are about to acquire? Let alone them. Not even Lin You wanted to give up what he had worked so hard for. After all, this piece of Godhead is very important to him. It can at least take his strength to a higher level, and no longer have to be afraid of the Lord with 9 pieces of Godhead. But if he doesn't give up, the people in the original evil world probably won't let him go easily. Even if they are unwilling to do so, it is still important to save their lives in the end. I heard there's a fight going on here. Suddenly, an arrogant voice sounded, interrupting everyone in the confrontation. The space beside Emperor Changfeng was distorted, and a tall figure wearing golden dragon scale armor appeared, and a terrifying aura swept around. Another great emperor. All the 11th level lords were secretly frightened. Changfeng and Xinyao looked at the visitor with joy. Long Yuan, didn't you go to the secondary space to deal with the invasion of monsters? Changfeng said in surprise. The person coming is none other than Emperor Long Yuan of their primitive world. Lin You didn't expect that the battle between several 11th level lords would attract 6 great emperors at once. Scenes like this are probably only seen in camp battles, right? Not to mention the 3 great emperors from the original evil realm Dongli, all of whom looked at Emperor Long Yuan solemnly. Long Yuan's strength ranks among the top 3 in the entire primitive world and the original evil world. He is also famous as a fighting maniac, and has even been dubbed the crazy demon by others. It is one of the emperors they least want to see. Oh, you're talking about me? I just had a battle with Manhwa and the others in the secondary space, and I'm about to go back for supplies. I heard that you guys are going to fight. While Long Yuan responded to Changfeng's words, he glanced at the people in the original evil world, making their hearts skip a beat. Emperor Manhwa is a being comparable to the level of the Dragon King. To be able to survive under his hands without any damage, how powerful is Long Yuan? Don't wait for them to think too much. Long Yuan had already listened to Xinyao's explanation of the cause and effect, and looked at them with a playful expression. So, you don't plan to let him go? As he spoke, he licked his chat lips with an eager expression. Dongli and the others have no doubt that if they dare to say no, the other party will take action immediately. Although they are not afraid, but taking the risk of realm collapse for an 11th level godhead is obviously not what they want to see. Moreover, this place is very close to the junction of the 2 realms. Once a fight actually breaks out, it will inevitably trigger a war between the 2 realms. Especially now is the critical time to attack the realm alliance. No one is willing to fight over a trivial matter unless you are sure you can crush the opponent. Otherwise, you won't get any benefits, but you will be labeled as damaging the alliance relationship, which is a bit outweighing the gains. But if they were to let him go like this, where would their former evil world's face go? For a while, the 2 sides were in a stalemate like this, with no one willing to give in, which made Wuya Wang and others on the side tremble with fear and dare not make a sound. But don't know, just when they were in a stalemate with each other, the power of rules in Lin Yu's body finally recovered by about 30%. After glancing that no one noticed him, his eyes suddenly darkened. Buzz! The law of time was activated, and an invisible wave exploded on his body. It directly broke away the rules of Emperor Dongli, and his whole body turned into a sharp arrow and shot out suddenly. What? The expressions of Dongli and others changed, and they obviously did not expect that Lin You could break free from the shackles of the Emperor. Court death. Emperor Swallowing Star's power of direct rule exploded, turning into a shocking sword light that crashed down towards Lin You. LinYu gritted his teeth, and the flow of time around him increased, and the speed suddenly tripled. The next second, Long Yuan from the opposite side rushed out, and shattered Swallowing Star's sword light with one palm. Terrifying energy exploded between the 2, instantly destroying a large area of void. All this happened in an instant. Before Lin Yu could react, he felt himself being grabbed by someone. When he regained consciousness, he was already beside the 3 great emperors Xinyao. Ha ha, what a good boy. You can break free from the shackles of the Emperor on your own. Not bad. Emperor Long Yuan laughed wildly. The faces of Dongli and the others were as sinking as water. No one expected that things would develop like this in the end. An 11th level lord broke free from the control of the 12th level without any warning. This was definitely beyond everyone's expectations. Moreover, the strange power just now was very unfamiliar to them. It's like a power that doesn't belong to the rules of this world. However, Dongli and the other three didn't care about this at this time. Now that Lin You had been rescued, and they didn't have an advantage in numbers, it was obviously impossible to regain the godhead. Let's go. Finally, after taking a deep look at Long Yuan and Lin You, they teleported away. They were all taken away together with King Wuya, and disappeared in the blink of an eye, leaving only the three great emperors of the primitive world and Lin You. This was a bloodless battle. In the end, the primitive side won. Let's go. Leave here first, Long Yuan said to Chongfeng and Xinyao behind him. When the matter is resolved, I won't accompany you anymore. Emperor Chongfeng didn't stay long. After taking a look at Lin You, he teleported away. Lin You saw a very complicated look in his eyes, as if he had something to say, but in the end he didn't say it. He didn't think that Emperor Chongfeng would run over to save him because he happened to be nearby. I'm afraid the big reason is because Situ Jian once went to beg him. It seems that this Emperor Chongfeng, it's not as ruthless as the rumors say. Lin Yu's expression moved slightly and he silently stared in the direction where Emperor Chongfeng disappeared. Unexpectedly, at this time, a palm as big as a cattail leaf suddenly hit the back of his head, with a pop sound, which almost made stars pop out of his eyes. You brat, you've been causing trouble for me, all day long. Needless to say, the owner of this slap is none other than Emperor Xinyao. Lin Yu looked back at Emperor Xinyao, whose eyes were as wide as copper bells, and smiled coquettishly. I didn't want to either. They were all staring at me, and trying to steal my godhead. I was forced to do so. You were forced, and then you killed one of their 11th level lords, Emperor Xinyao said with a strange look on his face. He didn't remember that the piece of godhead he gave him was so powerful, allowing a lord who had just advanced to achieve such a feat. Even when he reached the 11th level, he was not so exaggerated. This kid, there must be many secrets hidden from him. I just received news that the plan from the original evil world failed. Just as Lin Yu was on his way back to the primitive realm, many 11th level lords and other nearby realms received relevant news. Failed? Didn't it mean that they dispatched at least 5 11th orders? Even this failed, a lord said in shock. I don't know the specific information. It seems that the original evil world is deliberately concealing this matter, but someone has seen the emperor of the original world appear at the border. That should be correct. It was the emperor of the primitive world who came forward to save that guy. Isn't this good? I originally thought that the guys from the original evil world got there first, but I didn't expect that there would be a turning point. Indeed, but we still have to investigate clearly. I always feel that there is something wrong here. Are you thinking too much? The other party is just a lord who has just advanced. Similar conversations continue to appear in the 11th level meetings in various realms. Without exception, none of them were able to obtain detailed intelligence about the incident, as if the original evil world deliberately concealed it. Not much relevant news came out. Some people who smelled something unusual chose to wait and see for the time being, intending to investigate first before talking. Some didn't take it seriously, thinking this was their chance. After all, the original evil realm had already taken the lead once, so it was naturally impossible to watch the godhead being taken away by people from other realms. So some people began to act secretly again, carefully investigating Lin Yu's movements, waiting for him to leave the realm again. The other side, Lin Yu, accompanied by the two great emperors Long Yuan and Xingyao, quickly returned to the vicinity of the main border city. Emperor Long Yuan wanted to return to his territory because he still had something to do, so he just said that and left directly. It can be said that it comes and goes in a hurry, and it seems very mysterious. When only Lin Yu and Xinyao were left, Emperor Xinyao finally warned in a low voice, "You killed the 11th level lord from the original evil world today. They will definitely not let it go. Remember this when you go out in the future. Be careful." Yes, I understand. Lin Yu nodded seriously. Today's battle made him clearly realize the huge gap between himself and those top lords. If he hadn't made various preparations in advance, he might have died under the siege of those lords, let alone waiting for the emperors to arrive. It can be said, if anything were missing, he would die here today, especially the law of time, which definitely played a vital role, and was also the key to his explosive killing of the mechanical lord. Okay, there's still something going on in the secondary space. It's time for me to leave. You can go back to your territory first. After explaining the matter, Emperor Xinyao did not ask any more questions. After all, everyone has their own secrets, and Lin Yu's growth rate far exceeded his imagination. Not only did he kill one person on his own under the siege of 5 11th level enemies, but he also successfully captured the godhead which made him a little shocked but also completely relieved. Without giving Lin You a chance to respond, he tore the space apart and disappeared. Lin Yu's plan to ask about Emperor Changfeng failed instantly, and he could only stare blankly at the direction in which he disappeared. Forget it, I'll always ask again when I get the chance. Lin Yu shook his head helplessly and continued to rush back towards the main border city. Finally, when they passed the city wall, they found the Yan Lai brother and sister who were anxiously waiting at the city gate. Lin Yu, you are finally back. I thought you were dead. Seeing Lin Yu appear, Yan Lai, who had just recovered from some injuries, was immediately shaken and hurriedly came up to meet him. Don't worry, I won't die that easily, Lin Yu said with a smile. In fact, his injuries at this time are not much better than serious injuries, and it is estimated that it will take a long time to recover. But in order to prevent this guy from thinking wildly, he said, I was lucky this time. I happened to encounter the emperor of our realm passing by and rescued me. The emperor saved you. Yan Lai's eyes lit up and he finally breathed a sigh of relief. If Lin Yu died trying to save him this time, he would probably feel guilty for the rest of his life. Fortunately, the worst outcome did not occur, which made the brother and sister's hearts drop. They also did not sense Lin Yaobian's weak aura. Thank you, Yan Lai said solemnly. Brother Lin, thank you for saving us. Yan Ru bowed slightly to Lin Yu again. Okay, it's not a big deal. Lin Yu waved his hands indifferently. If you want to thank me, you should go and thank Situ. He did not hesitate to ask Emperor Changfeng for help for you. Go and ask Emperor Changfeng. Yan Lai's expression changed, and his brows immediately furrowed. Didn't I tell this guy to leave me alone? Although they were words of complaint, one could hear a trace of emotion. Anyone would be moved by having such a good brother, who could sacrifice for himself. However, he did not forget Lin Yu's kindness, and said seriously, I won't say much else. If you need anything in the future, just call me. Yan Lai, this life is yours. We can talk about these things after you recover from your injuries. It's time for me to go back and convey the news to Situ. He is still waiting in my territory. Okay, let's leave now and come to your territory another day to thank you. Yan Lai was not a shy person. After saying that, he left with Yan Ru and rushed back towards his territory. After watching them leave, Lin Yu didn't stay long. He suddenly appeared on the teleportation square and teleported directly back to the territory. Then he found Situ Jian and told him the general situation. When he learned that the Yan Lai brothers and sisters had returned safely, Situ Jian, who was still anxious at first, was overjoyed and confirmed it 3 times before he believed it. But when he heard about Emperor Changfeng, he fell silent again. You mean, that man also showed up? Situ Jian said indifferently, completely different from before. Yes, Lin Yu nodded slightly. I think he may not be as ruthless as you think. Maybe there is some misunderstanding between you two. Absolutely impossible. Situ Jian directly interrupted Lin Yu's words. Bloodshot eyes appeared. I know very well what kind of person he is. He must be just pretending to be a good person. What he cares about most is his false reputation. Lin Yu was silent. He found that the conflict between Situ Jian and Emperor Changfeng was more intense than he imagined and even more difficult to reconcile. But this was someone else's family matter after all, and he couldn't interfere too much. He just told the matter truthfully and didn't say anything more. Is he hiding something else, or is he a hypocrite? It can only be left to Situ Jian to judge. Sorry, I lost my temper. At this time, Situ Jian also realized his gaffe and said apologetically. Then he didn't stay any longer and walked out as if he was worried. I'll go back to see Yan Lai first, and come back as a guest another day. After saying that, he directly rode on the Mantis soldier, and flew away from the palace, heading towards the newly built kingdom teleport square outside. Lin Yu looked at the direction in which he disappeared and couldn't help but sigh. As the saying goes, every family has its own scriptures that are difficult to recite. Even if you are as powerful as Emperor Changfeng, something like this will happen in your family. It really fits this saying. After he couldn't see Situ Jian at all, he didn't waste any more time, and hurried to the foot of the world tree, took a deep breath, and then took out the mechanical godhead he had just obtained. In an instant, the shining metallic light illuminates the entire territory, giving the surrounding plants a silvery gray color. Obtaining this piece of mechanical godhead can be said to have been full of twists and turns. First he was besieged by the opposite lord, then he was caught by the emperor-level powerhouse, and finally he escaped. Every step he took was extremely thrilling, but the result was very gratifying, allowing him to obtain the 4th piece of godhead, and finally successfully entered the middle level of the 11th level. Would you like to absorb Divinity, Mechanical Department? Once absorbed it cannot be changed, so choose carefully. Absorb. Following Lin Yu's response, the mechanical godhead in his hand suddenly bloomed into a dazzling 7-color light, covering his entire body. The 3 pieces of godhead in his body also lit up, echoing the mechanical godhead. Gradually, the auras of the 4 pieces of godhead intertwined with each other, and finally merged together, and the piece of mechanical godhead also turned into a stream of light and sank into his chest. Then a surging energy exploded in his body, and surged throughout his body in an instant, constantly nourishing his limbs and bones and repairing the wounds in his body. Coupled with the self-recovery of plant talent, it is estimated that it will take less than a few days to fully recover. Thinking of this, Lin You immediately clicked on the personal interface to check it out with confidence. Name, Lin You. Lord, race, human, level, 11th level, 4/10. Power, 500,000, plus 200,000. Physique, 1 million, plus 600,000. Agility, 658,200, plus 263,280. Spirit, 1 million, plus 400,000. Basic skills, multiple mutations, power of rules, space shuttle, rule transformation, space channel, time law, power of godhead, all attributes plus 40%. Racial talent, physical fitness plus 20%, recovery speed plus 20%. Introduction. The Lord attribute interface records the specific strength and various skills of the Lord, which can be unlocked by 10th level Lords. Not bad. The average attributes have increased by 50,000 to 100,000, which is much more powerful than any magic pill. The physique is 1.6 million, and the savage roaring state is 1.9 million. Finally reaching the ordinary level without developing the 9 pieces of divine power, it is no problem to fight against the 7 Godhead Lords at full strength. If he had such attributes today, not saying that they can defeat King Wuya and the others, but at least they won't be as embarrassed as they were today, and they even barely managed to escape. Lin You was already very satisfied with this. After all, he has just advanced. It is impossible to reach the point of crushing the top lords all at once. That would be too nonsense. At the same time, through today's battle, he also deeply realized the importance of agility attributes. It was because King Wuya's agility was so much higher than him, that he was almost powerless to fight back. The reason why he dared to go there alone was because he was sure that he could escape unscathed, not because he just ran over impulsively, but it turned out that his judgment was wrong. The Lord of the 9 Godheads was far stronger than he imagined, which was why there were so many twists and turns. He must pay more attention to this in the future. So what he has to do next, is to accumulate resources and first strengthen his agility attributes to full value. After obtaining the 4th piece of godhood, not only Lin Yu's basic attributes increased by 10%, but all military units also increased by 10%. The effect of the armor of creation is also improved due to the increase in the number of divine heads. Damage reduction is 8%, abnormality immunity is 40%, rule power recovery is 40%, and it also benefits all arms. Thinking of the arms, Lin You calmed down and entered the original universe to check. In this battle, basically all the royal family suffered serious injuries, especially when they broke out to besiege the Machine Lord in the end. They even withstood the Demon Lord's full blow. If it weren't for the Forest Sage's light of life that locked blood, several royal families would probably have been lost. There are other arms as well. Almost all the ordinary troops are dead, and there are less than 800 legendary troops left, nearly half of which have been lost. After all, they were facing a siege 10 times their size. If they could still survive, it was pretty good. And thankfully, after killing the Mechanical Lord, he also gained more than 500 billion in magic energy, which could just be used to fill the vacancies in the army. Seeing that the royal family were recuperating under the world tree, Lin You did not disturb them, but moved his eyes upward to look above the world tree. Suddenly, Lin Yu's eyes lit up. He discovered that the previous fragment of the godhead had been completely formed, fell off from the branch, and was floating quietly in the air. On another branch, a faint colorful light shone, and the prototype of a fragment of the godhead was ray condensed. Calculating the time, it was exactly what he estimated. It would only take 5 days to form a piece, which finally made him feel relieved. With the fixed output of this godhead fragment, there is no need to take the risk of catching 10th level lords under the eyes of other realm emperors and 11th level emperors. If one of them is not good, there may be the risk of being besieged. It's okay to encounter level 11. If you encounter an emperor level person, you don't know how you will die. He was lucky today. The emperor of their original world arrived in time, so the emperor of the original evil world did not dare to act rashly. But luck doesn't always exist, so you have to be more careful in the future. Think about it. Lin You put away the fragments of the godhead and put them together with the piece he just got today, preparing to use them to cultivate 2 more principalities. Then he exited the original universe and teleported outside to check the construction status of each principality in a blink of an eye. It was the next morning, while Lin You was recuperating in the territory and checking the development of the kingdom. The voice of Emperor Xinyao suddenly sounded in his ears through the space channel. By the way, I forgot to tell you one thing. Every kingdom that has just been promoted can go to the lower plane to open up a new area to attract more new lords. Go and get it when you have time. Come on. Don't waste your quota. Open up a new area. Lin Yu was extremely surprised. Doesn't this allow him to open up a regional space similar to the novice village, where he originally stayed? Did it turn out that this was opened by lords of level 11 or above? Thinking of this, Lin Yu couldn't help but click on the territory interface, scrolled to the end of the territory function, and found that after reaching the 11th level, there was indeed an additional function called receiving space. After clicking it and reading it carefully, I finally understood the general meaning turned out to be, each territory above the kingdom can open up a reception space to receive the new lords, who came after the world collapsed, as a supplement to the lords of the kingdom and the principalities below. The most important thing is that only kingdoms that have opened up new spaces can participate in joint solicitations between kingdoms. In this case, tomorrow is the day of joint solicitation. If he didn't quickly open up a welcoming space, wouldn't he be able to recruit new lords? Lin Yu felt dizzy for a while, but no one had ever told him this. Fortunately, he was still thinking of recruiting a new group of lords to come in tomorrow to add fresh blood. No more time wasted. Just click on the function options with your finger. The next second, a portal that was exactly the same as when he was the chief judge of the Great Wilderness Principality, when he went to recruit new lords, suddenly appeared in the territory. Lin Yu looked at it for a while and then walked straight in. Aha! The light comes on. When he stood still again, he had arrived at the familiar recruitment platform. Zhang Yuan, beast type, rated B level. Sima Liang, plant department, rated C level. Along with the shouts, the teams and portals of the kingdoms also came into view. It is different from the recruitment platform of the principality. The platform of the kingdom is obviously much wider and more luxurious, almost 10 times the size of the principality. However, it is not the day for joint recruitment yet, and resources have not yet started to be invested, so there are not many new lords on the platform. There are only a few dozen people lined up next to each kingdom. Lin Yu counted briefly. There are more than 50 portals on the entire platform. In other words, the number of 11th level lords in the original continent was more than 50, which was exactly 5 times that of the emperor level, which made him surprised, because this was the first time that he intuitively understood that the number of 11th level lords in the entire realm was more than he imagined. But compared to the number of the 10th level, it is much less. After all, it is the level closest to the emperor level, and the competition is so fierce. And it's just like what the rumors said. The new lords trained in the kingdom's subordinate regions generally have higher qualifications than those in the principality. The evaluations are basically D level or above, which is much better than the bunch of E level and F level they had originally. And just when Lin Yu was looking around, the heads of kingdoms and new lords, who were in charge of testing on the platform, also noticed this uninvited guest and cast curious glances, because what he was wearing at this time was the dragon python golden robe that only kings could wear. Although they were just ordinary uniforms, those in charge could still recognize them at a glance, especially when he saw the cross-leaf symbol on the dragon python's golden robe. One of the older 9th level judges was shocked, and he quickly got up and trotted over to meet him. I've met King Yu. Saying this, he bowed respectfully to Lin Yu. As soon as the words came out, everyone around him was in an uproar. The chief judges from other kingdoms quickly got up from their seats and hurried over. You know me? Lin Yu looked at the 9th level lord in front of him in surprise. Yes, the 9th level lord responded respectfully. I have been fortunate enough to visit the kingdom of Yu before, and I recognize the symbol of the kingdom of Yu. I see. Lin Yu looked stunned, and then looked at the other inquisitors who came over. The new lord team outside was in a state of restlessness. Did you hear that? The chief judge just now called that person King Yu. Is he the king of a certain kingdom? It shouldn't be wrong. I didn't expect to meet such a big shot. I wonder if he's here to recruit people. If he chooses me, wouldn't he be able to become a successful person immediately? The new lords were talking a lot, their eyes full of excitement and expectation, and their eyes were fixed on Lin Yu, who was talking with the chief judges of various countries. Unexpectedly, at this time, the 8th level lord in charge of the test poured a basin of cold water on them. Don't even dream. That's a big shot at the 11th level. Even I'm not qualified to talk to him, let alone you. Hurry up and continue the test. As soon as these words came out, the crowd was in an uproar. Hiss. 11th level. It's actually a level above 10th level. What level is that? How strong does this have to be? With their 6th level, these 8th level leaders are already unattainable and unimaginable, let alone 11th level. Suddenly, Everyone looked at Lin You differently. At the same time, he fantasizes that one day, he can reach this level and be admired by countless people. However, the riot did not last long. After understanding the general situation with the judges, Lin You teleported and disappeared on the platform. Not long after, he traveled through the void and came to a familiar area below the platform. That's right, it was exactly the area where he was originally. Looking at the familiar mountains, forests, wilderness and deserts in front of him, Lin You was filled with emotion. Although more than 3 years have passed, this area has not changed much. There are still many low-level lords exploring around inside, and there are only a dozen or 20 soldiers around them. They are cautiously alert to the surroundings, much like themselves back then. Lin You took a look at the location of his territory, which had now become the territory of a third-level beast lord, who was slowly moving forward with several beasts in the forest he had explored. Time flies by so fast. Lin You sighed and did not bother these new lords. He teleported and disappeared again, arriving in the gray fog area they passed through. Only then did Lin You realize that this gray mist was actually transformed by the aura of chaos. It's just that the concentration has been diluted thousands of times, so it won't have any impact on him. Without stopping, he reached the sky above the barrier mountains in the center of the gray fog zone in a flash. Quack! Suddenly, a familiar voice sounded. A toad as big as a hill appeared and stared at Lin You, who suddenly appeared with a fierce look. It was the 10th level world swallowing beast they encountered back then. We meet again. Lin You looked down at the giant toad, which was exactly the goal of his trip. Name, world swallowing beast. Race, chaos. Level 10. Power, 470,000. Physique, 470,000. Agility, 470,000. Spirit, 470,000. Skills, swallowing the void, body of chaos, gluttony, disaster behemoth. Introduction: a very special monster that can only move in chaos. It makes a living by devouring the space of the world. Its strength will continue to grow with the devoured space, and will eventually swallow a world. After killing it, you can obtain the space stone, open up an independent space. Encountering this world-killing beast again, Lin You could easily detect all its specific information, and it was no longer full of question marks like before. Just like the introduction said, this kind of monster was born in chaos and lived by devouring the realm, and would continue to grow stronger as it devoured it. Just over 3 years have passed, and it is already almost reaching the 11th level, which is simply terrifying. However, this no longer poses any threat to Lin You at this time. As soon as he raised his arm, the huge body of the world-swallowing beast exploded, and he was instantly killed on the spot. Then a square shining with crystal white light came into his eyes. It was obviously the space stone used to open up space as mentioned in the introduction. Ha! Suddenly, Lin You was stunned. Looking through the space stone towards the center of the vacant canyon, there was a fragment shining with golden light. Is there a treasure hidden where the world-swallowing beast lives? Lin You was surprised. He looked at the golden fragment half inserted into the ground. He didn't expect that there was something else here. Looking back carefully, when they first encountered the world-swallowing beast, the monster never left the canyon, as if it was guarding something. This allowed them to escape and save a small life. From this point of view, the world-swallowing beast should be guarding this fragment. To be able to allow a monster of this level to stay there for 3 years, you don't need to think about it to know what kind of incredible treasure it must be. Overjoyed, Lin You immediately put away the space stone and ducked to the center of the canyon. As soon as he got close to the golden fragment, he felt a strange aura shrouding the surroundings. It was very unfamiliar, but it was somewhat similar to his law of time, which surprised him to know. His law of time is a power beyond this world. In such a low-level space, there could be something of this level. With a gesture of his hand, the golden fragment burst out of the ground and flew to his hand, and he finally saw the whole fragment clearly. It's a corner of a military unit token. It's just that this unit token is different from the ones he's seen before. It's Chang'an's golden color, and there are faint shadows of different shapes floating on it. You can tell at a glance that it's extraordinary. Lin Yu's eyes narrowed slightly, and an information interface appeared in front of him. Name, arms token fragments, random, level, legend, level, unknown. Introduction: fragments containing soul power. Collecting all the fragments can randomly synthesize a legendary military token. The level is insufficient and cannot be used. Legendary troop token. Lin Yu's eyes opened suddenly, showing a look of shock. This was the first time he had seen a legendary thing. Even though it was just a fragment, it still surprised him. That is to say, as long as he collects the remaining fragments, he can synthesize a legendary military token. That would be incredible if that were the case. After all, his mutation ability can increase the potential of one level of arms. If he gets the legendary arms, he can mutate them to a higher level of potential and become stronger. Unexpectedly, This trip to his old place would bring such unexpected joy, which was simply beyond his expectation. I don't know if there are similar fragments elsewhere. If you can synthesize a legendary token, you will really make a lot of money. After checking all around and finding nothing missing, immediately teleport out of the canyon, search for it at the junction of other areas, and kill the world-swallowing beasts you encounter along the way. However, what disappointed Lin You was, after killing 6 world-swallowing beasts in a row, I didn't see another fragment. Instead, I collected 6 pieces of space stone. Isn't it really that easy? Lin You couldn't help but sigh. It seems that this legendary fragment fell here accidentally across space for some reason. Think about it too. Things of this level do not belong to the world, so how could they appear in large numbers? You're lucky enough to get one. We can only wait until later to inquire slowly, and see if we can find out the whereabouts of other fragments. After thinking about it, Lin You put away the fragments and looked at the 6 white squares in his hand. After killing 6 world-swallowing beasts, he discovered that these space stones had different levels. Killing the 10th level world-swallowing beast will give you the 10th level one, and killing the 11th level world-swallowing beast will give you the 11th level one. For example, the space stone with the largest and most dazzling light cluster in his hand now. Name: Space Stone. Grade: Rare. Level: 11th level. Introduction: it can be used to open up an independent space connected to the kingdom, and used to cultivate new lords. Each kingdom can only open up one space and can only be used in the secondary chaotic space. This space stone was obtained by killing an 11th level world-swallowing beast with an attribute of 800,000. The others were all 10th level space stones. It just so happens that he now has 5 principalities, which can open up space for them to attract new lords. It will also be more convenient to recruit new lords. Seeing that the fragments of the legendary arms were not found, Lin You had no choice but to give up the search, teleport directly to a vast void far away from other areas, and take out the 11th level space stone. Using Space Stone, level 11, requires 1 billion mana energy. Do you want to continue? Use 1 billion mana is nothing to him now. It is equivalent to the current revenue of Shinyu Kingdom in one day. And the moment his voice fell, the space stone in his hand immediately bloomed with a dazzling white light. The white square, which was originally only the size of a fist, also expanded rapidly under this white light, isolating the surrounding chaos energy that had been diluted countless times. Then with a loud roar, various terrains and climates rose from the ground, and the sun and moon appeared, gradually forming a vast independent world. Lin You felt it carefully. The size of this space is exactly the size of his kingdom. It is not a problem to accommodate millions of novice lords, enough for them to thrive inside, and compete for resources. Then he followed the same example and took out the remaining 5 10th level space stones to build 5 small spaces next to this large space. It didn't take long. The 6 novice areas, 1 large, 5 small, and 6 were successfully opened, and successfully connected with the kingdom of Shinyu and its subordinate principalities. Boom! Just at this time, a loud noise came from the depths of the chaotic void, and the chaotic atmosphere around him surged crazily. Lin Yu's senses were fully activated, and he could only faintly detect that a space was collapsing, and terrifying energy swept through the vast chaotic void. Immediately afterwards, rays of light suddenly lit up in his newly opened space. If you look closely, you will see that there are many new lords who have been teleported over, and each of them is an extremely simple first-order territory. This is... Lin You opened his mouth, his eyes full of surprise. Could it be that loud noise he just heard? In fact, it was the destruction of a certain cosmic space connected to the Wonji continent that attracted all the intelligent creatures in it. Damn it, I traveled through time. Can anyone tell me where this is? Let me go quickly. I want to go home. Chunlin, where are you? Ha ha. I have been assigned to the demon-type flame puppy unit. Here I come from another world. In this life, I, Long Ocean, must regain everything I have lost. As more and more new lords arrived, the entire reception space began to become noisy. There were all kinds of wails and shouts everywhere, and Lin You, who was in the void, couldn't help but be surprised. Turn out to be. Is this how they came to this world? Interesting. Lin You looked at everything happening in the space with a smile on his face. I couldn't help but sigh in my heart. A new cycle is about to begin again. Crunch. In one of the tallest palaces in the Chongfeng Empire Palace, the palace door slowly opened, and Situ Jian walked in from the outside with a cold face. Can I help you? Emperor Chongfeng, dressed in white robes, stood on the terrace, looking at the entire imperial capital without looking back. You rescued my friend yesterday, right? Situ Jian spoke directly, staring at the back of Emperor Chongfeng. After the words fell, the palace fell into silence again, and Emperor Chongfeng was still looking into the distance. After a long time, he said calmly, "It's me. If you came here specifically to thank me, there's no need." He didn't explain why he was there, nor why he took action to save Lin You. His voice was as cold as ever. It was like talking to a stranger. "Yes, I'm just here to thank you." Situ Jian generously admitted his intention, although he was very reluctant in his heart. No matter what, the man in front of him saved his two best friends. In Lin Yu's words, "It's just awkward." But immediately, Situ Jian changed the topic. "I owe you this matter. One day, I will surpass you, and then I will pay you back in full." After saying that, regardless of Emperor Chongfeng's reaction, he turned around and left, passing through the palace gate and disappearing into the long corridor. "More than me," Emperor Chongfeng murmured, his expression unchanged. He didn't know what he was thinking. After a while, he turned his head slightly and glanced at a dark corner next to him. "Go and call Kanglang over." "Yes." A response sounded, and there was a sudden space distortion in the corner, and a black shadow disappeared instantly. The Kanglang king is the king of the kingdom where Yan Lai and Situ Jian live, and is also one of several veteran 11th level lords on the primitive continent, but very few people know. The Blue Wolf King was actually cultivated by Emperor Chongfeng. After the black shadow completely disappeared, Emperor Chongfeng withdrew his gaze, sighed slightly, and looked up. In the blink of an eye, the entire palace became silent, with only the breeze blowing by. Following Emperor Chongfeng's gaze, he could still see the vast expanse of void above the primitive continent, and he didn't know where it led the other side. After solving the matter, Lin You quickly returned to the territory through the teleportation of the recruitment platform. After sending a message to the kings of the 5 principalities below to talk about the guiding space, they went to the world tree and exchanged the 2,000 fruits of faith that had just matured today for rule fragments to start mutating the legendary troops. The reason for choosing legendary arms, it was because he found that when facing those 11th level lords with more divine personalities, ordinary soldiers were basically useless. After all, he has little divine power, and his blessings on the troops are not as good as those of the old lords. The ordinary troops are naturally very weak and can only be used as cannon fodder at most, but the legendary arms are different. The higher basic attributes just make up for this gap, preventing him from falling into a disadvantage in group battles. Although it consumes more resources, it is still worth the money. He must regain his strength before the monster invasion is over and go to the secondary space to earn more rule fragments. Otherwise, if he misses this invasion, he will be equivalent to missing an opportunity to quickly improve his strength and be left far behind by other lords. What's more, there is no emperor watching in the secondary space. If you're lucky, you might be able to get other types of gods. Lin You spent the entire 3 days in the territory. Thanks to various plant-based treatments and self-recovery methods, the internal trauma in his body was finally fully recovered. In these 3 days, the joint recruitment between the kingdoms also officially started. All the recruitment spaces were open to each other, and all the 6th level newcomers were gathered on the same platform for screening. Originally, Lin You was worried that his recruitment space had just been opened, and he would not be able to train a 6th level lord so quickly, and would not be able to participate in the joint recruitment. I found out after asking around. The great emperors supported the new kingdoms. All you need to do is invest 5 times more resources than other kingdoms when allocating resources, and allocate evenly to the introduction space of each kingdom. The kingdom's monthly resource investment is basically 10 billion mana, 5 times more, which is 60 billion. Although this was a lot for Lin You, it was not a loss in exchange for a joint recruitment quota, so he invested 60 billion from the 500 billion in magic energy he had just obtained. Then a portal was built, and a team was also sent there to recruit new lords. During this period, he also used the remaining 2 fragments of the Godhead to support the 2 9th level lords, who ranked top every month and established principalities for them, increasing the number of principalities to 7. Then allocate money to build the city, monthly rewards, and send resources to the Dwarf Kingdom. After some operations, there are only 100 billion magic energy left. Fortunately, his original universe produced not many rule fragments in the past 3 days, only more than 6,000 pieces. After spending tens of billions of mana to mutate more than 600 legendary arms, the number of legendary arms finally reached 1,500 again. Although there are still very few, they are all powerful units that can fight 1 against 10. As long as they don't encounter 7 goat heads or 2 or more 11th level lords, there shouldn't be much problem in group battles. It's time to go out. Lin You glanced at the direction of the boundary of the realm and murmured silently. After calling Shuai Chonggui to explain some things, he walked directly into the portal. Aha! The light comes on. The long-lost teleportation square in the main city appeared in front of us. It was still as lively as before, with people coming and going, and shouting. Lin You didn't stop and rushed towards the direction of the monster invasion. However, when he teleported away from the main city and arrived near the edge of the realm, countless sensations suddenly fell on him, and then quickly pulled away. Are you still guarding it? Lin Yu frowned. He didn't expect these guys to be so persistent, waiting for him to appear. Although he has tried his best to conceal his aura, there will definitely be many people who can guess his identity through various clues. And at that moment, almost hundreds of perceptions fell on him. No matter how confident he was, there was no way he could face the siege of so many 11th level lords at once before his attributes were strengthened to full value, and the legendary troops were recruited. Let's go. Get out of here first. After saying something to Ling Shi beside him, he teleported away again, and rushed out of the realm. Then not long after, dozens of powerful figures appeared, looking at the direction in which he disappeared. He was right. After waiting for so many days, I finally couldn't bear to come out. One of them said happily, it'll be good to come out. It's no wonder we waited here for so long. This piece of plant godhead must be obtained. Hurry up and chase. Don't let people from other realms get the first step. In the blink of an eye, the 11th level lords from all walks of life received the news that Lin You had left the realm. They gathered together and quickly chased after Lin You. And at this time, Lin You has already brought Ling Xi outside the realm. Everywhere he looked, there were surging monsters and the lords who were fighting the monsters, shouting and roaring. Lin Yu didn't dare to stay because he had sensed that a large number of figures were rapidly approaching from behind, and their auras were not weak. Some of them have even reached 8 pieces of godhead, which are not something he can deal with now. After identifying the direction, he immediately accelerated and rushed towards the depths of the monster army. Not long after, the space gates towering between heaven and earth appeared in front of them. A large number of monsters surged out from inside, which was much denser than in the outer area. Only a small number of relatively strong teams could come here and kill the lord monsters that rushed out. After scanning the surroundings, Lin Yu plunged into one of the 11th level space gates that seemed to be the most stable, and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Damn it, he ran into the monster dimension. A newcomer who has just advanced dares to run inside. Doesn't he know that there are lord monsters above a level? The 11th level lords who were chasing him stopped one after another, and their expressions turned gloomy. Obviously, he didn't expect Lin Yu to be so decisive and rush directly into the 11th level space gate. You must know that the number of high-level lord monsters inside is even more exaggerated than outside. Those who don't have more than 7 pieces of godhead dare not easily set foot there. For him, a newly promoted lord, to run in like this would be as good as death. What should I do? Do you still want to pursue me? Immediately, many people retreated. No need. He, a newly advanced lord, will not be able to stay there for long. We can just wait here. That's right. I want to see how long he can escape. After the discussion, many lords immediately gave up the pursuit and chose to wait outside the space gate. Those who were more confident in their own strength stayed outside the door for a moment before chasing after them again. But it was precisely because of this short stay that Lin Yu finally succeeded in getting rid of their sensory tracking and went all the way deep into the monster space. After confirming that no one was chasing him, Lin Yu teleported and landed on a remote and desolate land. He didn't dare go too deep. After all, this is an 11th level monster space, filled with a large number of a level and above lord monsters. If you are not careful, you may encounter the risk of being besieged, let alone go deep into the depths to compete with those top lords for mission rewards. Therefore, the best strategy is to honestly look for lone lord monsters in the outer areas, and slowly accumulate rule fragments. Qianlong, I'll leave the investigation work to you. Lin Yu waved his hand and summoned the royal family, and more than 1,000 legendary troops. Give it to me. Qianlong responded, and in the roaring wind, he led a team of green dragons to fly high into the sky, and began to conduct reconnaissance work, cleaning up the flying monsters along the way. The dragon army, with the blessing of Air Overlord, increases its damage to flying enemies by 50%. Lin Yu is very relieved to leave the airspace to them. Soon, he took the remaining royal and legendary troops deeper into the area, and explored around the outside of the monster space. In this way, he killed the ordinary monsters he encountered along the way. As he moved forward, the Qianlong flying in the air soon sent back the news. Master, we found a thunder and lightning area 300 miles ahead, and a large number of lightning elves are approaching. Thunder elf. Lin Yu, who was picking up the corpse, was shocked. The same kind of monster appears in large numbers, and even generates thunder and lightning areas. Could it be a lord monster? Not daring to be careless, he immediately called back the troops that had spread out, and set up a defensive position on the spot, staring closely at the front. Boom! Sure enough, not long after, there was a thunderous explosion. In the sky at the end of the site, large dark clouds suddenly appeared, approaching them quickly amid a burst of lightning and thunder. Wherever it went, dense thunder and lightning fell down, forming thunder elves surrounded by thunder and lightning on the ground. like an army passing through, and the direction they were heading was surprisingly where Lin You was. "He's coming for us," Qing Gang in front whispered. The disaster sword bamboo in his hand tightened. This disaster sword bamboo is still rare, because Lin You mutated many times, but failed to mutate into a legendary level equipment unit. "I don't know if it's because of rule restrictions or other reasons. Be careful, there may be lord monsters," Lin You warned, then turned on his senses, and looked at the center of the thunder cloud. Sure enough, he found a huge thunder element that was constantly summoning thunder and lightning. Name: Thunder Lord. Lord. Race: Element. Level 11. Level A. Strength: 940,000 plus 658,000. Physique: 940,000 plus 658,000. Agility: 980,000 plus 686,000. Spirit: 980,000 plus 686,000. Skills: Heavenly Punishment, Thunder Spirit, Thunder Domain, Thunderous Thunder, Chaos. All attributes increased by 70%. Introduction: a terrifying creature formed by the power of thunder and lightning. It can change the surrounding environment, form its own thunder and lightning field, and can summon a large number of thunder spirits. A level lord monster. Lin Yu's eyes narrowed when he saw the information interface in front of him. Although he was mentally prepared, he still couldn't help but be a little shocked after seeing the average attribute of 1.7 million. Just on the periphery, there are already monsters equivalent to the strength of 7 goat heads. How about going deeper? Fortunately, he now has 4 pieces of Godhead, and one of them is elemental. With the blessing of Savage Roar, the physical attribute can reach 1.9 million, and the royal family can basically reach more than 1.5 million. As long as you don't rely on its powerful thunder skills, you should still have a good chance of winning. Be prepared. After thoughts flashed through his mind, Lin You immediately raised his hand slightly. Rush! With a loud shout, the savage roar started immediately. More than 1,000 legendary soldiers were transformed into 10 teams under the leadership of the royal family, and they rushed straight towards the lightning area, colliding hard with the thunder element elves. Crack! At this moment, a huge bolt of lightning, as thick as a bucket, suddenly fell, striking straight at Lin You, at the back of the team. It is Lord Lei Yuan's heavenly punishment skill. He activated his skills as soon as he met him. This lord monster looked up to him, too much. Lin You didn't dare to be careless. He raised his hand and a vine rushed out, building a defensive wall above his head. With a roar, the heavenly punishment skill exploded on the vines. The terrifying power of thunder and lightning instantly penetrated the vines and fell onto Lin You, causing him to fall into paralysis. However, because the vines were connected to the ground, more than half of the lightning was directed underground, and did not cause substantial damage to him. Instead, a prompt caught his attention. Affected by the Heavenly Punishment skill, lightning resistance is reduced by 20% for 1 minute. The effect of the Armor of Creation is activated, and the lightning resistance is reduced by 12% for 36 seconds. Unexpectedly, this skill also comes with reduced resistance. Fortunately, his creation armor has abnormal resistance, which directly offsets 40% of the effect. Otherwise it would be really difficult to deal with. Lingxi, lead the thunder. Seeing the Thunder Lord triggering the thunder again, Lin You immediately removed the vine protection, and shouted to Lingxi. After receiving the signal, Lingxi immediately raised her staff, and burst out the power of rules with him. Amidst a loud rumbling sound, trees rose from the ground. Deafening thunder continued to explode in the sky. As soon as Lin You created a forest, Lord Thunder's thunder domain suddenly erupted, and crashed down above their heads, forming a terrifying grid between heaven and earth. Everywhere you look, there is dazzling white light, illuminating an area of several kilometers like daylight. However, after those lightning strikes the trees, they are directed to the ground. There was a loud boom, and large swaths of lightning exploded on the trees and on the ground, spreading rapidly in all directions like electric snakes. In the end, it fell on Lin You and the soldiers, and only partial damage was done. Very good. This method works. Keep attacking. Seeing that the power of thunder and lightning was contained, Lin You immediately issued an attack order, and the power of rules in his body broke out again, and countless vines and wooden thorns emerged, turning into a green torrent and rushing away from the thunder elemental elf, and heading towards the Thunder Lord. Crack! Several more heavenly punishments came down, defeating all his attacks. The surging power of thunder and lightning exploded, turning into countless thunder elemental elves again, filling the vacancies that had been killed, and fighting fiercely with the royal family and legendary troops at the edge of the forest. Then Lin You gradually discovered, under the crazy attack of the Lei Yuan elves, his team advanced very slowly. In addition, the Thunder Lord's large-scale attack had a paralysis and penetration effect, forcing the royal family to concentrate on resisting, making it difficult to get even close. Kong Ming, are you sure you can clear out these Lei Yuan elves? Lin You used long-range attacks to contain the Thunder Lord while shouting to Kong Ming in the air. When it comes to large-scale attacks, Kong Ming is definitely the strongest among the royal family, no problem. Kong Ming, who was treating the soldiers below, responded without hesitation. Then he broke away from the team and led the lantern grass army to spread out despite the thunder and lightning in the sky. In the blink of an eye, it was all over the entire thunder and lightning field. Boom! The Thunder Lord seemed to have guessed Lin Yu's intention, and suddenly lightning exploded all over his body, triggering thunder. In an instant, dense purple thunder and lightning descended, striking at Kong Ming and the legendary lantern grasses with extremely rapid power. Together with the surrounding space, it was split apart and turned into a large expanse of destructive void. It's the Thunder Lord's thunderous skill. Buzz! Before Lin You could give the order, the forest sages in the team felt the terror of this skill, and immediately activated the Light of Life to protect the entire lantern core. The purple sky thunder fell on them, and instantly penetrated their bodies. Except for Kong Ming, all of them were seriously injured in one blow. However, the effect of the Light of Life forced them to retain 1 point of constitution, and they were not directly destroyed instantly. Glory! Kong Ming's calm voice sounded. A large dazzling green light suddenly bloomed from the body like a lantern, covering the entire world. At the same time, thousands of light talents were triggered, and all the lanterns around him burst out with dazzling light, turning into a sheet of destructive energy that swept across the earth. The Lei Yuan elves, that were still rushing out crazily, the moment they came into contact with the light, all wailed and their bodies began to melt rapidly. To know, Kong Ming inherited the spiritual protection of the four-leaf clover, and his spiritual attributes increased by 40%. In the blink of an eye, all the thunder elemental elves surrounding the Thunder Lord were instantly killed, and completely emptied. The damage caused by the brilliant skill is converted into a healing amount in equal proportion, and the injuries on all types of soldiers are healed back to their full strength. Now, Lin You was shocked and immediately led his team to surround the Thunder Lord to prevent it from summoning the Thunder Elemental Spirit again. The 10 royal families quickly surrounded him. Under the treatment of the Elf Elder and the Emerald Dragon Mother, they resisted the thunder and lightning and launched a fierce attack on the Thunder Lord. Attack after attack emerged crazily, submerging the Thunder Lord's huge body, and explosions continued. Then Lin You followed suit and built a forest with Lingxi, trapping it inside. Lord Lei Yuan roared angrily, and lightning exploded from his body. However, Lin Yu's armor of creation was immune to abnormal effects, and his 2 fists were no match for his 4 hands, and his body made of thunder and lightning began to dim rapidly. In the end, Wang's shadow killing skill, which dealt double damage, penetrated the core of the thunder and lightning, and exploded into countless lightning bolts amid a burst of unwilling wailing. Kill the 11th level Lord Monster, and obtain 1 billion mana. As a reminder sounded, the dark clouds in the sky began to quickly dissipate. The surrounding thunder and lightning power continued to gather, gradually condensing into regular pieces of shining light in the air. If I count carefully, there are actually as many as 70 yuan. That is 10 times the size of 10th level Lord Monsters of the same level. Very good. Lin You was overjoyed that an 11th Lord Monster could achieve such huge gains. If he continues at this pace, he will be able to strengthen his attributes to full value in just a short time. He will even have extra rule fragments to mutate legendary troops. It's a good thing that he risked his life to come to such a place. What surprised him even more, in addition to the rule fragments, something else also exploded. A scroll with a lightning symbol tattooed on it. Flash of lightning, consumable, after use. Agility is instantly increased by 3 times, lasting for 6 seconds. It is only effective for levels 11 and below. A prop to improve agility. Lin Yu's eyes lit up. What he lacked most now was speed, because he would be in danger of being besieged at any time. The appearance of this scroll was a timely help, giving him a powerful means of escape. Although the effect only lasts for 6 seconds, the 3x increase in agility is enough for him to escape from any level 11 battle. Xingxi puts things away and puts them in the most conspicuous place in his personal space, so that he can call them at any time. Then, he took another look at the situation in the original universe. It was discovered that after killing the 11th level Lord Monster, the number of fruits of faith began to increase again, 2 more than before, reaching exactly 2,100. Although this growth rate may not seem like much, it is still very scary when it accumulates slowly. You must know that the daily revenue of an ordinary kingdom is only about 50 rule fragments. Even those old kings only earn around 100 at most. As long as you give him time, He can surpass everyone. Let's go. Keep going. After checking again to see if there was anything missing, Lin You said to the royal family. Then he led the team to continue exploring in other directions, looking for the lone lord monster. Have to say, the density of monsters in the secondary space is really terrifying. In just one morning, Lin You encountered nearly 50 A-level lord monsters, except for a few who didn't dare to provoke them because they appeared at the same time. He killed all the remaining 43, harvesting 3,010 rule fragments and 86 original fruits. This efficiency would never be imagined by other lords. After all, ordinary lords do not have 11 royal arms with the strength equivalent to 5 pieces of Godhead. Even if you form a team and act together, the rule fragments obtained must be shared equally, and not many will be distributed to each person. It can be said that this monster invasion was simply prepared for Lin You. Therefore, Lin You cherished this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity and frantically searched for resources in the peripheral areas of the secondary space. And there were more and more rule fragments in his personal space. Just explore and kill the lord monsters at the same time. It wasn't until the afternoon that I was finally interrupted by a few uninvited guests. Quick, that monster is escaping over there. Chase it. Lin You was working on a piece of wasteland when suddenly a burst of urgent shouts approached quickly from a distance. The opponent's speed was so fast that even the hidden dragon in the air had no time to detect it before it entered the wasteland. At the same time, there was also a loud rumbling sound, like the footsteps of some giant beast, hidden. Lin Yu's face hardened, and he immediately recalled his troops, and took several smaller royals to hide behind a mound of soil aside, being careful to hide his presence. Then after a while, billows of smoke and dust began to appear. A group of giant mammoths, 20 or 30 meters high, rushed from a distance. Wherever they went, the ground shook, accompanied by the sound of rumbling footsteps, and rushing at the front was an SS-level mammoth lord. Obviously, these monsters were hunted here from deeper places, being able to drive away SS-level lord monsters. The opponent's strength is obviously not weak. What's more, the mammoth is a species that is said to be at the forefront of the beast series in terms of power defense. The average lord has no way to deal with it, which makes him immediately want to give up. At this moment, 5 powerful figures appeared immediately, with a large number of soldiers surrounding them. 2 of them teleported directly to the front of the mammoth herd and launched an attack on the extremely ferocious mammoth lord. They finally successfully blocked the charge of the elephant herd and stopped less than 2 kilometers away from Lin You. Lin You looked through the mound and finally saw the faces of the other party clearly, and couldn't help but froze on the spot, because he had met these people before. Astonishingly, they were several 11th level lords from their primitive world, who, suddenly, one of the female lords holding a bow, an arrow turned back and looked at where Lin You was hiding. I actually noticed his aura right away. Lin Yu's expression changed. If he guessed correctly, the other party should have detection skills. Otherwise it would be impossible to discover his existence so quickly. Considering that he was not familiar with the other party, and based on the idea that doing more is worse than doing less, he turned around and wanted to escape from here. Unexpectedly, just as he was about to teleport away, 2 figures suddenly appeared in front of him, blocking his way. So fast, Lin You was secretly shocked. This speed required at least the strength of 8 gods, and 2 of them appeared at once. No wonder even SS-level lord monsters are no match for them. After the 2 people blocked his way, their eyes that were originally filled with murderous intent suddenly froze. It's you. The beast-type middle-aged man was surprised, and seemed to recognize Lin Yu's identity. Are you the recently promoted King of Saint Blessing? Another mechanical lord looked surprised and also recognized Lin You. After all, during the previous camp wars, they were often summoned by the emperor to have meetings together, so they naturally recognized them obviously. None of them expected that they would meet Lin You here, a new generation figure, who has caused a lot of noise recently. After reacting, the mechanical lord immediately raised his head and shouted to the other 3 companions who were restraining the mammoth group. It's okay, they are people from our realm. The mammoth lord who was chased here was already at the end of his strength. As soon as the 3 people heard the shouts from here, they immediately used their strongest methods and quickly eliminated the mammoth lord, then collected the loot and hurried over. Seeing that they had no ill intentions, Lin You lowered his guard a little and stayed where he was for the time being. Are you the recently promoted King Shenyu? The 2 female lords and another insect-type man came to Lin You and looked at him with surprise. The strength of these 3 people is slightly inferior to the previous 2. But 2 of them have reached the level of 7 pieces of Godhead, and 1 has reached the point of 6 pieces of Godhead. The strength of the entire team can be called luxurious. In addition to not having 9 pieces of Godhead, they were even a bit more powerful than the original evil team that besieged Lin You before, which made Lin You couldn't help but be secretly frightened. It's me, That's right. Who are you? He asked. Let me introduce you. The oldest mechanical lord said with a smile. Then he pointed at the beast lord next to him, who is also a member of the 8 gods. He and I are from the Baidu kingdom and the beast kingdom respectively, and we have 8 levels of strength. After speaking, he pointed to the female elemental lord next to him who first discovered Lin Yu's traces, and the insect-type man. These two are the kings of Yuling Kingdom and Fusion Kingdom, 7 gods. The last one is the youngest angel girl, the king of Kinglian Kingdom, with 6 pieces of godhead. When introducing each other, the 11th level lords basically refer to themselves by the titles of their respective kingdoms, and usually do not reveal their real names. For example, they call Lin You King Shin Yu. Lin Yu had heard of these 5 kingdoms: Baidu, Baisu, Yuling, Fusion, and Kinglian. They were basically established kingdoms on their original continent. He didn't expect to meet them here and move together, which made him a little surprised. Who are you calling little girl? I am already over 200 years old this year. Upon hearing Baidu's introduction, Kinglian refused and immediately spoke out fiercely, causing Lin Yu and the other 4 people to have black lines all over their heads. Okay, this young man is still watching. As a senior, you should be more reserved. Baidu wiped the sweat from his forehead. The awkward look immediately made the other 3 people chuckle, and made Lin Yu smile knowingly, letting go of his guard a lot. I can tell, these people are not evil people. He immediately cupped his fists, and said, nice to meet you. I didn't expect to see many of you here. Baidu, to be honest, we are quite surprised to see you. Indeed, you have just been promoted to the 11th level. How could you come to such a dangerous place? The king of beasts on the side asked immediately. As soon as these words came out, the other 4 people couldn't help but look at Lin Yu with curiosity on their faces. You know, this subspace is full of lord monsters above level A. It is a bit too bold for a new lord to run in alone. But immediately, Yuling, who was holding a bow and arrow, let out a sigh and looked at Lin Yu in surprise. You actually already have 4 pieces of godhead. Lin Yu was shocked when he heard this. His divine personality had been concealed by Emperor Xinyao, and he had not shown any aura from just now until now. Even this can be detected. It seems that just as he guessed, this person has very powerful detection skills. The other 4 people were also shocked when they heard Yuling's words. 4 pieces of godhead. Are you sure? Good guy, you've only advanced for a few days and you already have 4 pieces of godhead. Brother Xinyu, you hide it so well. Generally speaking, the established 11th level lords do not pay much attention to the new kingdom, because it is too easy to die young. This is also the reason why no 11th level lord has come to Xinyu Kingdom to congratulate him so far. After all, they didn't know when Lin Yu would suddenly die suddenly, so why waste their energy running over to congratulate him? But it's different now. Lin Yu, who possesses 4 pieces of godhood, has already developed a certain ability to protect himself, and is no longer so easy to be killed. He finally made them pay attention to him, and they all looked at Lin Yu much friendlier. I'm just lucky, Lin Yu said awkwardly. If you're lucky, will you be able to get 4 pieces of godhead as soon as you advance? Several people looked strange, obviously not believing Lin Yu's words. However, they were too sensible to ask any further questions. After a moment of silence, Fusion, who had been standing quietly next to him, thought of something and suddenly interrupted. You appeared here. You must have been chased in by the gang of guys outside, right? His voice was not loud, but when it fell into the ears of the other 4 people, it made them stun for a moment, and then a flash of light suddenly burst out in their eyes. Yes, I had no choice but to run in. They are probably still blocking the space door. Lin Yu shrugged helplessly. After hearing his answer, the eyes of several people shone brightly, and they all became excited. Opportunity, our opportunity has come. Baisu rubbed his palms vigorously, looking at Lin Yu as if he were looking at a rare treasure. Even his eyes changed. The same was true for the other 4 people. Their excited and hungry expressions made Lin Yu think that they were going to eat him alive, but immediately, Baidu's words suddenly made him realize. Brother Lin Yu, are you interested in doing something big with us? You will be the bait, and we will ambush from behind, kill those guys, and steal their godhead. Stealing the godhead. Lin Yu looked surprised, and finally understood why they had such expressions. Not to mention, using him as bait and others ambushing him behind was really feasible, and he couldn't help but move. During this period, he had been passively beaten, hunted by many lords, and even harmed his friends around him. Do you think he doesn't want to fight back? Of course not. It's just that the strength he just advanced to is too weak and he doesn't have the capital to fight back for the time being. If you don't have the strength to fight with others, you will only harm yourself. He is not some kind of long ocean. He can easily destroy the enemy when his tiger body shakes and his domineering energy leaks out. He can only endure it until he is not completely sure. Previously, it was because Yan Lai and the others were arrested, and he couldn't wait to save them, so he had no choice but to take action. But it's different now. He already has 4 pieces of Godhead, and with these 5 powerful old lords, he definitely has a lot to do. There is no way he can get a 5th piece of Godhead. How's it going? Are you interested? Baidu asked again, with a look of anticipation on his face. As long as we get the Godhead, we will distribute it according to needs, and then subsidize some of the resources to others. According to the information I received, those guys probably thought that you only had the strength of just advanced. If you were lucky, it shouldn't be a problem to get 4 or 5 pieces of Godhead. This is definitely a great opportunity for our primitive world, really. Just like what he said, this is definitely a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, because generally speaking, the 11th level lords, who have just advanced, either die early or are too weak to leave the realm. It is basically difficult to encounter a situation like Lin You, who possesses 4 pieces of Godhead at once, and no one knows about it. As long as it is done properly, it is not a problem to kill several 11th level lords from other realms. The most important thing is that no emperor will come forward to stop it here, and the chance of obtaining the Godhead is greatly improved. Although it required taking a lot of risks, Lin You was still extremely excited. After thinking for a while, he finally nodded heavily. Okay, I did it. Well done. Baidu and the others immediately became excited when they heard this. Without any more nonsense, he immediately called the troops around and started discussing the plan next to the slope, and then went to the surrounding areas to check out the points. It wasn't until half an hour later that Lin You broke away from the team. Wait for my news. After saying that, he rushed directly towards the door of space. It wasn't until he could no longer be seen that Baidu turned back to the others and said, "Let's hide quickly. Those guys are very clever. If they knew we were here, they would definitely run away in advance." Of course. I've been waiting for this opportunity for so many years, and it's time to use some extra means. I have also prepared the 5 elements blockade formation, which will definitely make it impossible for them to come back. As they said that, they dispersed and hid in the 5 corners of the agreed place, waiting patiently at the same time. Outside the space door, the lords from all walks of life who had been waiting for a long time finally became agitated. It's already afternoon, and the kid hasn't come out yet. Could he be dead inside? Or was he killed by those people who chased him in before? Or was he eaten by a monster? If I had known this, I would have chased him in. It would have made me wait here for a long time in vain. Angry curses continued to sound from every corner, but not many people really retreated. Dozens of lords from all walks of life are still hiding in every corner outside the space gate, waiting for Lin You to show up, while secretly wary of others. The entire surrounding atmosphere became cold. Aha! Suddenly, the light came on. A figure passed through the door of space and appeared outside. Everyone was stunned at first, and then stared suddenly. It's that boy. He's coming out of it. Do it. Low voices sounded one after another, and some reacted very quickly and took action directly. As soon as Lin You appeared outside, the space around him was distorted, and several powerful attacks instantly blocked all his escape routes. Boom! There was a loud noise, and a huge deep pit exploded in the ground. Lin You only had time to gather a war barrier in front of him before he was blown away by the terrifying impact. He also didn't expect that these guys would be so persistent, waiting from morning until afternoon. The blow just now caused the blood and energy in his body to surge, and he obviously used all his strength to attack him, which was not something he could handle alone. Seeing the war barrier shattered, he followed the force of the backlash and fled into the space gate without looking back. The lords, who were almost exhausted of their patience, did not choose to wait this time. Seeing Lin You escaping, he immediately chased after him, and they all plunged into the space door. Unexpectedly, as soon as they entered the secondary space, a large piece of red mushrooms fell at their feet. Boom! The entire entrance shook violently, and several lords who failed to react were instantly blown away, almost falling into the chaotic aura at the edge of the entrance. They were so shocked that they hurriedly turned over to stabilize their bodies. Immediately afterwards, there was another loud sound under the feet, and large vines rushed out of the ground and headed straight for their vital points. "You want to block us with this level of attack?" One of the lords sneered disdainfully, struck out with a sword energy, easily cut the vine into 2 pieces, and then chased after Lin You. In the secondary space, a thrilling chase scene was staged. Dozens of 11th level lords were in hot pursuit, following Lin You closely, and constantly traveling through space. Lin You, on the other hand, turned around from time to time and used various plant skills to disrupt the space and interfere with their pursuit. For a time, there were explosions and shouts. Everyone gradually moved away from the door of space and went deep into the secondary space. Lin You didn't even need to perform. Those lords who were more agile than him were already pressing on him step by step, almost intercepting him several times. If this continues, it will only be a matter of time before he is caught up. Sure enough, his agility attribute was still too low. As a last resort, he had no choice but to take out the lightning flash scroll he had just obtained, grit his teeth, and tear it open. Whoosh! The sound of breaking through the air sounded, and his agility attribute suddenly increased 3 times, turning into an afterimage and flying towards the depths, once again widening the distance between him and everyone. It's an acceleration prop. Chase him quickly. We must not let him escape. The expressions of the lords from all walks of life who were chasing after him changed. They obviously did not expect that Lin You would have such a powerful acceleration item. They also confirmed that Lin You was at the end of his strength, and they immediately activated their explosive skills one by one and accelerated to catch up. But Lin You was extremely fast in his explosive state, and within a short time he was far away from those who were slower. Seeing him fleeing further and further away, some people were worried that they would encounter the Lord Monster group, and after hesitation, they chose to give up the pursuit. Gradually, there are fewer and fewer people chasing Lin You, from dozens to 7, and their strength is between 6 and 8 gods. Moreover, they are all in urgent need of the plant-type godhead, and do not want to miss this golden opportunity. However, they did not notice that Lin You, who was fleeing in front, suddenly had a strange smile on his lips. In a flash, he teleported to a barren mountainous area and fled straight into the depths of space. Then 6 seconds passed, the acceleration stayed on his body disappeared, and his speed suddenly decreased. When the people behind him saw this, they were immediately shocked. His acceleration effect is gone. Very good, chase me. I want to see where you can escape. Amidst the loud shouts, the speed of several people suddenly increased, and they teleported to Lin You, in an instant, blocking his way. But at this moment, one of the old demon-type old men with 8 divine heads suddenly frowned, and looked around. Something's wrong. The terrain here seems to have been disturbed. As soon as these words came out, everyone else was shocked, and finally noticed something abnormal. Some even rushed out without thinking, and their reactions were extremely fast. However, before they could rush out of the mountain range, a loud shout was heard. Do it! Boom! The surrounding ground suddenly exploded, and 5 beams of light of different colors shot into the sky. Then, under the horrified eyes of several people, a giant magic circle was constructed, covering the entire mountainous area where they were. Affected by the 5 elements blockade formation, all displacement skills are invalid, and all attribute attacks are invalid. The cold reminder sounded in their minds, causing their expressions to change suddenly. By the time they reacted, Lin You in front of them had long disappeared, and disappeared into the formation. Immediately afterwards, the 5 Baidu people teleported and waved their hands, and soldiers appeared all over the sky, surrounding the blockade formation in the middle. Damn it, I fell into a trap. This is a trap they set. The 7 people in the formation looked gloomy. They didn't know that they had fallen into Lin Yu's trap. They immediately summoned their troops, and slammed into the edge of the formation. It's useless. I have put 10 years of hard work into this blockade formation. No one can break it from the inside. The Yuling had a heroic posture, and the bow and arrow in his hand was stretched to the full moon. A terrifying arrow filled with the power of the 5 elements shot out, piercing the void and streaking towards the formation. As soon as an elemental lord in the formation was about to attack the formation, he felt a death threat enveloped his heart. A large wall of fire suddenly formed in front of him, and he rushed out. But at this moment, Baidu, who was outside the formation, suddenly appeared behind him in a flash, with electric light flashing all over his body. He actually activated the mechanical overload skill, and punched out suddenly. Boom! Ah! Hearing the elemental lord scream, one of his arms was blown to pieces, and his whole body turned into a stream of light and fell to the ground, creating a huge deep pit. The surrounding troops couldn't even save him in time. The remaining beasts, Fusion and Kinglian, also unleashed their strongest methods. Beast roars, holy light, and insect flapping sounds came one after another, launching fierce attacks on others across the formation. The few people inside were just about to go low, but found that all the skills with attribute attacks were ineffective. They were shocked and immediately gathered their troops, and retreated quickly at the same time. A roar sounded, and a large red light enveloped the Baidu 5 and their troops, making their momentum increase again. All attributes increased by 30%, also increased speed by 30%. What a powerful gain. Whose skill is this? The Baidu people who were launching the attack were shocked, and looked at the center of the red light. It was Lin You who had just come out of the formation. To know, general group gain skills basically just add 1 or 2 attributes, and most of the effects are around 20%. But Lin Yu's savage roar is directly increased by 30%, and all attributes are improved, and it also has an acceleration effect, which is simply outrageous. They found that they still underestimated this newcomer who had just advanced. Okay, with the blessing of the savage roar, several people suddenly became more powerful and violently attacked the remaining 6 lords across the formation. Lin You also summoned troops, using long-range skills one after another, and dense attacks poured out into the formation. Coupled with the Baidu suppression under the mechanical overload state, the opponent was beaten back steadily, and the troops fell in pieces. Hang on, his mechanical overload effect won't last long. The demon-type old man shouted loudly, and the demon soldiers emerged crazily and desperately, blocking Baidu's footsteps one after another. The remaining people resisted the attack while manipulating their troops to rush outside the formation, creating circles of ripples on the formation. Unexpectedly, at this time, the corners of Baidu's mouth suddenly raised slightly. He took out a mechanical crystal that shone with electric light from his personal space, and used it directly. Let the lightning on his body burst out again, and bless him. A prop to extend the buff. Lin You outside the formation was slightly shocked. This Baidu king actually had such rare props. He was indeed an old king, who had lived for hundreds of years. With double attributes, he restrained and suppressed them inside. The remaining 6 people on the opposite side were immediately defeated, and immediately another lord suffered heavy damage, and fell from the sky. The king of beasts on the other side is also not to be outdone. The power of the tiger, the fury of the lion, the speed of the cheetah, and the charm of the fox. The phantoms of the beasts light up behind him. It actually broke the restriction of the beast system, that only one kind of beast blessing can be effective at a time, bursting out with unparalleled power, beating the other person to the point of being unable to resist, and was defeated after a while, and could only rely on the soldiers to support him. Fusion not far away is even more terrifying. With a move of his hand, the insect troops, which originally numbered only more than 30,000, began to divide rapidly. In the blink of an eye, the number exceeded 100,000, turning into a dark cloud and rushing towards the formation. Wherever they went, it was like locusts passing through the border. All enemy soldiers were eaten away, leaving only skeletons. It was obvious that they were trying to keep the bottom of the box under control and did not intend to leave a way for those people inside to survive. Bang! A spark exploded around Lin You. The cannon was aimed directly at the demonic old man, and a fiery red stream of light penetrated the void and flew straight towards him. The old man's expression changed, and a blood shield appeared in front of him, but it was instantly defeated. The bullets exploded in his waist, and were knocked back hundreds of meters before he could stop himself. The old man was shocked. The power of this attack had even reached the point where it could threaten his life. Is this really what a newly promoted 11th level lord could do? What a deep scheming. All of them were deceived. How could he dare to hold back? The power of his rules exploded, building a demonic circle around him, and directly sacrificing tens of thousands of demons. Boom! The entire ground suddenly began to shake violently, and a lava demon hundreds of meters high rushed out of the ground and appeared in the formation. The terrifying power is far beyond the level of the 9-piece godhead. No, it's a demon sacrifice. Stop it. The Yuling in the sky shouted in surprise, directly entered the elemental incarnation form, and launched a fierce attack on the lava demon. The Kinglian at the other end burst out with dazzling white light, turning into chains of holy light and rushing into the formation, instantly locking the lava demon's huge body. But at this moment, another humanoid lord with 8 divine heads also burst out with golden light, condensing a sky-reaching giant sword in the air, and cut off all the chains with a clang sound. Roar! The lava demon let out a shocking roar, punched the charging Baidu, and knocked him back with double attributes. Then the old man and the humanoid lord looked at each other, and at the same time they unleashed their strongest means. The lava demon and the golden sword light converged, and suddenly crashed into the blockade formation on the side. There was a deafening loud noise, and the entire blockade formation shook violently. Large cracks appeared in the extremely hard protective wall, and a huge gap was opened. When Lin You saw this, he immediately activated the void space to cover the broken area, trying to prevent them from escaping. However, how could the 2 people in the explosive state be blocked by his 4 divine powers? The effect of the skill was broken by brute force, and they rushed out of the formation. I will remember today's revenge. With a harsh word, the old man and the humanoid lord fled directly into the void, and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Among the remaining 5 people, one of the ghost clan lords with 7 goat heads also seized this opportunity, and fought hard to break away from Lin You, and the others siege with a serious injury. Then, a large number of strange runes appeared on his body, which quickly dissipated amidst a burst of wailing. The ghost clan's reincarnation technique. The Beast King, who was just about to launch an attack, couldn't help but make a sound of surprise. The lords of the ghost clan, like the Phoenix clan, all have the talents of their own race, and can use all soul power to reincarnate on other carriers, but they will lose their power for a period of time. Sure enough, these high-level lords are not so easy to kill. They basically have 1 or 2 ways to save their lives, but the remaining 4 lords with only 6 pieces of Godhead were not so lucky. 2 of them were already seriously injured, and their combat effectiveness was greatly reduced. Now without the support of those 3 powerful combat forces, he was still held back by Lin Yu's void space. They were instantly defeated. In a burst of unwilling roars and vicious curses, they were completely overwhelmed by their attacks, and they all fell on the spot. Kill the 11th level Lord of the Alien Plane, and obtain 99.4 billion mana. Fortunately, Lin Yu managed to grab ahead at the last minute.
Thank you for watching Mystic Realms Recap. Please like, share and subscribe. Have a great day.